And we're here.
Here we go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Thursday night, Generational Change. I'm Jen.
I'm Peter, and we're rocking the pink tonight, Jen.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I have to wear my pink in protest.
It's a light pink.
It's okay. We're wearing pink. We're in solidarity for the protest that happened apparently during the State of the Union. We're fighting back. We're fighting back in our pink.
Oh, we're fighting back, all right.
Oh, yeah.
We definitely have to wait till Jamie gets here to talk about the wonderful clips that we've been seeing all day today. I often wonder if there is some type of deliberate sabotage that's going on within the party.
I've said that to you. But it's like the problem is that these people that we're talking about, they're not that bright.
Well, maybe they got tired. You see, remember, Lincoln has one of the all-time great political sayings, which is, you can fool all of the people some of the time. You can fool some of the people all of the time. You cannot fool all of the people all of the time.
Yes, except for when the people that are doing it are themselves morons that they don't know what, like if these were really smart mastermind people, I actually would believe that this is just like that it is purposeful, that they're purposefully tanking the party. The people that we're talking about, for the most part, are just useful idiots. Now, are the people at the top aware? I think the people at the top don't really care either way what happens to the party.
Well, that's exactly what I was alluding to. I don't think they care. I just think they're tired of trying to convince people of all the myriad of excuses that they come up with as to why they can't get anything positive done for working people, which again comes down to one simple variable. Either you're bought and paid for by corporate special interests or you're not. And so when people are wondering, why is Trump and Elon being able to do the things that they're doing right now completely unabated? And the reason they're able to do it is because they're all in it. They're all in on it. Now, again, that doesn't mean that we don't want to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse in our government, of which there is plenty to go around. But make no mistake.
Not where they're looking.
No. If you're not going after the Pentagon, then it doesn't matter. Everything else is just, I don't know what you would describe it.
I think the biggest waste, fraud, and abuse is the corporate subsidies that people like Elon Musk get. That's what I think. Like, I think the biggest waste, fraud, and abuse is what he's protecting. So we're never going to get anywhere. And they're not going to go after the MIC because they can't. That's where a lot of his contracts are.
Well, also, earlier today, look, evidently, hey, Jen, feel like running against Jared Moskowitz? Yes. Jared Moskowitz is one of the 10 Democrats that voted.
That seat will turn red before anything else. It's close. And the best you're going to hope for in that seat, honestly, as bad as Moskowitz is, he's better than Joe Kaufman. So, there's that. Yeah.
This is what you guys have to remember about the particular congressional district that Jared Moskowitz represents.
Oh, it is such a little toady. Ugh.
Yeah, it is consumed by both Boca Raton and Parkland. And what do Boca Raton and Parkland have? A lot of Zionists.
They're very affluent. There's very large Jewish communities, and it's very affluent. Now, a large amount of those Jewish communities are Republican. This district is not his district, not my district. The district that Moskowitz is in it's winnable for a Republican, like, easily. If it was the right person, it would. I think so. Like, and it's not like he's particularly popular. He was just what was on the menu by the Democrats because it was bequeathed to him.
Yeah. His father was a very big, powerful politician in South Florida for a long time. Jared,
and people vote blue. And at the point when he was still voted in, it was still a majority blue. It still is. But I do think that district, I think that if we saw new numbers, that I don't know how majority blue it really is.
Yeah. So what you'll end up seeing, because the Democratic Party is so broken and feckless at this point, is you're going to see, as much as people are really under this illusion, because that's what I think it is, or delusion, if you really want to get definitive about the term. this idea that the Democrats are going to sweep the Republicans in the midterm. I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. If the Republicans, we said that the only thing that prevented the Republicans from sweeping the Democrats the previous midterm was because of Roe v. Wade. The only thing that is going to prevent the Democrats from getting absolutely destroyed going forward is if the Republicans cut Medicaid. If they end up doing that, then it is going to cost them somewhat electorally. There's no question that it will. But if they don't do that, what you're going to end up seeing with a lot of Democrats in swing districts is that they are going to be much like John Fetterman, and they're just going to go right along with essentially whatever Trump is doing for the good of the country, of course, because, we have to unite and say, that's what's going to save us. But that's what we're dealing with here. And for those people that think that the saving grace and the way we're going to save ourselves and, survive and thrive, if you will, is simply by continuing down this road of, well, we have to primary this person, primary that. But no, that's not the answer, because the party will still protect its own no matter how bad they are.
I think they're just going to gradually dissolve if we would just let them. More and more people are registering no party. Less and less people register Democrat. Their voters are dying off. I really do believe we've seen our last Democratic president. If they do, or if they are able to somehow have some sort of pickup at seats in there at the midterms, it won't be enough. And even if it is, let's assume it is. Let's assume for shits and giggles that it's a Democratic sweep and they take the House and they take the Senate. So we've been there. We've gotten nothing. So the point that people are excited or anticipatory about something that still produces nothing is where that they're out of ideas. Because again, first of all, I don't think they're not going to win any margin that'll help anyway. But even if they did, you think you're getting a public option.
I just got an email from Jamie. She's going to be running a couple of minutes behind. So if there is sort of like a starter topic, because we don't need to, thank you, Mario. That's very sweet of you to say. I don't want to make you sick, Jen. But I have no choice. I have to do this.
All right, but wait. What are we starting with? Because obviously you want to wait for Jamie to be here to go over the State of the Union shit. What do you want?
Well, we also want to talk. Well, we're also going to talk about Mangione, and it's some interesting stuff that's been going on because she's really knee deep in the story.
She's running the fund for his defense, right?
Yes, and we definitely want to learn more about that and how we can.
So because I feel like whatever I'm not exactly sure what you have on the menu, but go in some semblance of organization order, so that I can follow this. Because if you're
what was the name of the? I don't remember the name of the young man that Trump had called out during his State of the Union. The young man who was suffering from cancer and survived it, and Trump made him an honorary member of the Secret Service. Can anybody real quick, if you could just put it in the chat, the name of that young man? Forgive me for not remembering.
Okay, so let me preface this with everyone, and anybody who knows or has been watching me for any amount of time knows that I have not watched the State of the Union. Now, I don't ever watch the State of the Union because I don't purposefully subject myself to something which I know is complete bullshit and lies, because I don't see the point when they don't do what they say anyway. And I've never watched it. It's not Trump specific. So all my knowledge about it are just clips that I have seen after the fact. So I just want to put that out there, that I am not normally if I'm going to talk about something, I know the whole thing.
Well, his name is DJ Daniel. He's a nice young man. And of course, he's being used as a political prop, as they all are. But this could not be avoided from the other night.
18, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago.
Colin, these clips are not coming through good. Can we reload it, please? Because for some reason, it's kind of the speed of it is really off.
It was choppy?
Yeah. Unless it was only choppy on my end and not yours. Did it look okay on your end?
No, I saw it looked choppy, but I never know if it's just because of my computer or if it's playing that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's
That's
part of
why I
the,
don't say anything, because I just assume it's me.
well, we're not supremely technological, but I think this is, I think that, yeah, we'll try it again. Okay.
18, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago.
How old is this person?
13.
13? Oh God, make it stop.
The best part about it was that it was a perfect screen capture because she probably didn't think for a second that the camera was going to pan to her.
Does it matter? What would she be doing differently? You think she would have done her hair different? Like, what does she care? Look at her.
I don't remember the name of the congresswoman that's sitting next to her. I know this woman's from Michigan. I can't remember her name. She was the lady, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I think this is the lady that married a congressman that was like 30 years older than she was, and she inherited his seat.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Maybe it is. And by the way, yes, see, so I feel like we're blending because they're pink, we're pink. We're so outraged.
Well, they're all part of that. Well, again, we're doing it as we know why we're wearing it. I mean, that's like the whole point of it. And so the reason I bring up the devil herself is because everyone wants to talk about the contempt that she and many others have for regular people.
Wait, that's the whole clip that you were showing on that was just to show Debbie at the end of that clip about the kid with the cancer?
Yeah, with the sourpuss look. It is Debbie Dingle. Yep, I was right. Thank you, Josie. I appreciate it.
Okay, so all right, this is where I get confused with stuff. Okay, so there was this whole buildup about the kid with the cancer and the thing, and he was, and then it goes, and now we're talking about Debbie.
It ended up going viral on social media. Like, how does she have that effing look on her face? Are the Democrats incapable of cheering for anything that's positive?
Wait, how did somebody stop it and clip it right there? Is that what you're saying? Mm-hmm. And that is the clip that
Debbie went viral on social media. Everyone said that Debbie really was the embodiment of the whole pissant look on the Democratic Party's face, and how they cannot accept and will never accept their ineptitude. The fact that they do not.
I don't think they care. She doesn't care. She doesn't care if they win or lose. That's the whole point. So, like, even when they're in charge, they do nothing. This is actually better for them. By the way, yeah. I'm just gonna instead. Honestly, it's every time that I feel like I want to do something about something, but I just don't. That's
all that they were doing. They were giving you that fake outrage to suggest that they actually care. But the truth is. That is the one thing about Wasserman Schultz that I at least respect, is that she is always mask off. Like, she can't pretend that she cares. She truly and utterly has contempt for everyday people.
Yala, you and Peter are spirit animals.
This might be controversial. Thank you for the $4.99. But the Democrats lack strong alpha males to take on the right. Too many beta males, not enough fighters. Well, here's what you have to understand.
I would argue for the sigmas, but yes, you are correct. There are too many betas.
The Democratic Party deliberately pushed strong working men out of the party. That was deliberate. There's a reason when we think about the neoliberal takeover of the Democratic Party, the consultant class, the managerial class, that was the end of guys that pick things up and put them down for a living. Those guys were not accepted or welcomed in the Democratic Party anymore. The people that did get to the front are the type of people that are only strong intellectually, not physically. And so when you remove the testosterone from the party, you get what you get. And that is why the Democrats have a serious testosterone problem in their party. And you look at everyone that is considered part of leadership today. Who are they?
And by the way, this has been going on for many years, long before the whole, accusing them of being woke and all that, which that stuff's just annoying. But the truth is they don't really do anything about that either. They just talk about it. But in any event, the Democrats weren't always the betas. You know what I'm saying? Like, when they were really affiliated with labor, then it was the opposite. It was kind of the opposite. You had like the nerdy corporate, more less hands-on type of business people that were more the Republican side, and you had more working class, actual like work with your hands people that were Democrats. So I mean, I think that it's definitely switched.
The other thing that we will talk about, since you guys are mentioning it in the chat, look, I don't really care that Al Green stood up during Trump's speech and decided to make a ruckus and get himself kicked out. Obviously, that was intentional. But here's what I will say. The fact that you had 10 Democrats, and again, the ones who did it are clearly ones with the exception, I believe, of Marcy Kupfer in Ohio. I believe that every Democrat that did this is in a swing district, which should come as no surprise. But 10 Democrats supported the censorship of Al Green. Now,
I can never get past Al Green. Like, to me, when I hear Al Green, I'm hearing like some serious good R&B. You know what I mean? And I know it's a different Al Green. But how do we know that he wasn't, to some extent, and I don't know his record enough. I mean, I know he's pretty decent, but like a lot of this is just very theatrical, right?
Colin,
so would he have done it if they weren't in the minority?
If I may, Colin, please pull up the tweet that I posted a little while ago for us of Al Green. There's a very important common denominator here. Also,
let's get together.
Well, don't forget about Mauskowitz, Glusenkamp, Perez, and Tom Sousie. He's a real winner, let me tell you. The reason why this was such a big deal is because Al Green decided to make a speech on the House floor earlier today. And what topic did he address that was so significant as to why he decided to interrupt Trump's speech?
Right. What was it?
It was about Medicaid, about cutting Medicaid. And he said that I have the best health care in the world, and I want to give that health care to everybody. Well, Al Green, if anybody knows anything about Al Green, he actually has been a decades-long consistent supporter of universal health care. What should come as no surprise to anybody is that all 10 members of the Democratic Party that voted to censure him do not support universal health care.
What's his district?
He's in Texas.
Okay.
I don't remember which district he's in. I think he's in Houston, if I remember correctly. And the other caveat, which is very interesting, is the fact that all 10 members of the Democratic Party that voted to censure Al Green, they're all heavily funded by AIPAC. So here's what Mr. Green had to say, and we'll bring in Jamie in 1 second.
And I wanted him to know that he didn't have a mandate to cut Medicaid. I did this because Medicaid is the only insurance many people have in this country. I am blessed. As I stand here now, there's a physician waiting. If something should happen, I will be taken to that physician. I have the best health care in the world. There are other people who have less than I. I would have them have what I have. But I surely will not stand by and see them lose what little they do have. Medicaid is for people who don't have the kind of health care that 435 members of Congress and 100 members of the Senate have. But they do.
Facts.
And all 10 members of Congress in the Democratic Party that voted to censure him do not support single-payer health care, and they are funded by AIPAC. And if that is not the embodiment of where the Democratic Party is today, then I don't know what is, because what they are doing is becoming a fully corporate party so that workers have nowhere to go. And on that very pleasant note, Jamie Peck, welcome to Generational Change.
Hi, guys.
Hi, how are you?
Wow, that's a good segue. I'm all right. I've been like kind of fighting up a cold the past few days, so maybe not watching the news as much as I should have been if I was about to go on a show and talk about it.
No, that's all good. I don't really watch it either. I watch recap. I can't. That's toxic mind poison. But it's very nice to meet you.
You too. I'm glad we could make this happen.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm not sure exactly what you wanted to get into, Peter. There's a myriad of things I know.
Yeah, there is. Of course, everything has just kind of hit us like a big freight train over the last 48 hours. Obviously, there are a lot of places that we can start, but you have been obviously very outspoken. Luigi is going to take up obviously the bulk of our conversation, so I think it's important to get into how we kind of ended up here, kind of the evolution of where the Democratic Party has gone, and why we have tried our part to facilitate some type of a change at the local level, as Jen did against Wasserman Schultz, and we all know that the Democratic Party, in terms of its inability to evolve, is infinitely worse than the Republican Party. And so one of the things that we found, or at least I found very interesting, is not the speech that Donald Trump gave. It's the speech that they had Alyssa Slotkin, of all people, give afterwards, and the praising of not only Ronald Reagan, but also of W as well. So let's play that quick clip.
President Trump loves to say peace through strength. That's actually a line he stole from Ronald Reagan. But let me tell you, after the spectacle that just took place in the Oval Office last week, Reagan must be rolling in his grave. We all want an end to the war in Ukraine, but Reagan understood that true strength required America to combine our military and economic might with moral clarity. And that scene in the Oval Office wasn't just a bad episode of reality TV. It summed up Trump's whole approach to the world. He believes in cozying up to dictators like Vladimir Putin and kicking our friends like the Canadians in the teeth. He sees American leadership as merely a series of real estate transactions. As a Cold War kid, I'm thankful it was Reagan and not Trump in office in the 1980s. Trump would have lost us the Cold War.
Because he's the one who wants to talk to Putin.
In his heart, he doesn't believe we're an exceptional nation.
Because we're not.
He doesn't think we should lead the world. Look, America is not perfect, but I stand with the majority of Americans who believe we are still exceptional, unparalleled. And I would rather have American leadership over Chinese or Russian leadership any day of the week. Because for generations, America has offered something better. Our security and our prosperity, yes, but our democracy, our very system of government, has been the aspiration of the world. And right now, it's at risk.
Yeah, it's at risk of people like her taking over. And let me just say, Jamie, it's really great to have you here. That Alyssa Slotkin, she's a really terrible person. Don't ever listen to her. I'm a really great guy, tremendous person. And we are making America great again.
Again. And we know why they picked her, right? Isn't that who they want to go for Michigan? Isn't that who they foresee is running for governor of Michigan?
Well, no, that's who they have as the senator now. And of course, they believe that Miss Googly Eyes, as you like to point out, Whitmer is, well, you
she
ladies.
Got the crazy eyes. She's got the crazy eyes.
Yeah, you ladies can talk amongst yourself about the crazy eyes that certain women have and that they shouldn't be trusted if you see those crazy eyes. And so Whitmer is most definitely going to run for president in 28, despite the trail of horror that she is leaving in Michigan as she goes.
I look forward to that.
What has happened to the party, Jamie?
Yeah, what happened?
Well, just to talk about this speech for a second, right? Like, the idea that America's financial and political power and just being the bully of the world is justified by some kind of moral clarity, this like city on a hill idea, that's such fatuous garbage. It just makes me so mad. And on some level, I'm okay with the fact that Trump has left that part out. He's like, yeah, we're not doing this because we weren't supporting Ukraine because we believe in democracy or whatever. We're doing it because we want their rare earth minerals. And how is that controversial? Like, he's saying the quiet parts out loud. And I'm like, well, that's not the part about him that I dislike. Sorry.
Yeah, I find this is what's so frustrating to me, much more so about liberals, is that they just hate him to hate him. I was noticing, I was watching Status Quo earlier and they were covering the protest about Ukraine, the situation. They're so upset. And every single person that's protesting this is some very kind of affluent white liberal person. And these are people that truly believe that Putin is the bad guy. Like, they've been so capable of believing that. And they're just completely delusional. These people are delusional. And this is people that have nothing better to do with themselves, which is why it tends to be affluent people. But they are not representative of most people. They are just the people that come out and have the time on their hands to be. Anybody who's out protesting for Ukraine has some serious time on their hands.
Yeah, I mean, I think protesting is a worthwhile endeavor, protesting for the things you believe in. I also think that its power is limited in this day and age, especially because a demonstration, right? That used to be a demonstration of some kind of strength, some kind of power on the part of the movement. And now it's more like we're doing a demonstration without much power to back it. And that doesn't generally get the results that we want. But I also thought it was funny in that speech where she said that Trump would have lost the Cold War. Because like, it's just this funny conflation that liberals like, I mean, not just liberals, like all mainstream politicians like to make between Soviet Russia and Putin's Russia is very funny.
Well, I mean, he's the person who's actually talking about diplomacy and meeting with Putin, whereas we haven't had diplomacy and open channels of communication throughout the entire Biden presidency. And somehow that is regarded as a negative thing. Like people are actually staying in this war is the better thing. It's absurd. And these people will just disagree with him, even though he's saying we should stop killing people. No, we hate Trump. Like this is how off the wall they are, no matter what he says.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's a good side of this, really. I'll also admit that it's not really my primary area of expertise, but I have done a couple episodes about it. With my friend Alex Gindler, who's more of a Ukraine expert. He's actually from there. So yeah, check those out for more. But I don't think there's a real, like, obviously there's not a communist side to this conflict. Like both sides are incredibly anti-communist. Both sides have fascists on them. So sorry.
Yeah.
Well, not to be outdone, I don't know if you saw this clip from earlier. I, honest to God, thought that this was a joke. I did not think that this was
Is this
real.
the thing you sent me?
This is what I sent you.
I am so. This is. I thought it was AI. Are we sure it's not AI?
Jamie, I'm guessing you may have seen the video of Choose Your Fighter from the Democrats. This can't be. I'm like,
this is so brutal.
And
this is real.
And the fact that Alex and Jasmine decided to partake in this is what makes it even more pathetic. But we'll play it.
God, I hate this.
It's brutal. Oh my God.
Oh, with the punching. No. Oh, come on. Really?
I thought it was fake. No, this is real. This is what
I just want to know who gets put up to this and they think, yeah, this will work. This is a great idea.
Oh my God.
This is exactly what we need right now. And you end up having the Asian lady who was in the video. I don't remember what congresswoman that was, but you could tell that she's a lot older and just like trying to do that physically, like she could barely move. And I'm just thinking, you almost have to wonder if this is like some form of self-sabotage of the party. Because this is like going to end up becoming a running joke now, that all they care about are memes and virtue signaling. But to actually do anything of substance, like demanding that we have single-payer health care, that we have a living wage, that we end forever wars, that we have clean drinking water. You know, they make a big deal about the fact that the Supreme Court shot down Trump's determined goal of reducing whatever funding is USAID, which is in just like a couple of billions of dollars. They get all excited about that happening, that the Supreme Court shut that down. But the Supreme Court allows for even more poisoning of our water supply, ocean dumping, things like that. You see, they're very quiet about that, even though that's something that definitely directly affects our lives. And so I'm just wondering, and I mentioned this at the top of the podcast, Lincoln said it best when he said, you can fool some of the people all of the time. You can fool all of the people some of the time. You cannot fool all of the people all of the time. And I'm wondering if we're entering that phase of, I've seen this game played before, and you're not going to play me this time. I'm not getting fooled this time. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that they're fooling anyone with this. Like, fooling
So
some of the
bad.
people any of the time, that would be quite the stretch. But I mean, we see them substituting affect and I guess what they consider messaging for any kind of movement on policy because they're hemmed in by the demands of the business sector. They're hemmed in by the economy, by the demands of capital. And I mean, if you really want to understand this shift, it's not just a matter of these particular Democrats being shitty people, right? Like that's definitely part of it.
Right.
And I'm not letting them off the hook. But there are also these overdetermining factors going back to the 1970s and the neoliberal turn, where we had, due to a variety of factors, including oil shocks, including stagflation, the capitalist economy went wacky, and capital took advantage of this crisis to gain the upper hand on labor, on the working class. And since then, we've seen sort of a feedback loop, right, of the Democratic Party abandoning labor because labor had less power to offer them. And as a result, labor became even less powerful. So this is a process that's been going on for a pretty long time. And some people think of this era that we're in as part of the long 1970s still, this long decline, otherwise known as the neoliberal era, which really seems to also be coming to an end now as the final squeeze that the neoliberal set of policies and ideologies and all that stuff has been all in an effort to squeeze that last bit of juice, last bit of productivity, that last bit of growth out of the capitalist system. Even these policies are not, they're not squeezing it any longer. And I think whatever comes next, it might be even worse than this, or it might be better. I don't know.
Yeah, we were just talking about that, Peter. And I said to you, like, it really does feel to me that the people at the top at this point realize the implosion of the empire, and they're just grasping for whatever they can get on their way out the door at this point. So it isn't such a concern for anything beyond right now. They don't think long term because there really is no long term. And then the people that are in that video, they're just useful idiots.
I definitely agree. And I also think that there has to be some type of an acceptance of where the system is going. Jamie, we haven't been acquainted before, but I'm in the ultimate capitalist profession. So I deal with people in exceptionally high net worth brackets. But what will surprise you is that while there are the people that are the embodiment of everything that's wrong with our capitalist system, there's quite a few people with a lot of money to their name who are scared to death of where this country's going and how there's a level of uncertainty that exists where there really is this sort of ultra capitalist class that's above the people that have 10 to $100 million to their name. It's the people that are in this quasi rulers of the world billionaire class that are, you know, I mean, it's like I said to Jen, and I say it constantly, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You know, who you want to argue is the most tyrannical billionaire. But when you look around at people like Bezos and Gates and Thiel and people like that, like they think that they're playing God. And I think that they get off on that. I think they really, yes. So you are now privy to Jen's wonderful artwork. So this is the Jen.
Well, I mean, this is the new Oligarch Chronicles. You know, we used to have the other Oligarch Chronicles, and now this is the new Oligarch Chronicles. But yes, this is my interpretation of these douche canoes.
Yeah, you're going to, well, we're going to have to expand the map at some point. And
I know, but these four are good. These four are good symbols. I mean, this works.
Yes. And while I don't think that social media is indicative of where people are in their everyday lives, why do you, just from your perspective, you live in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that there is this sort of this simping, if you will, for the true ruling class? Like people look at Elon and they think he's cool. And
who looks at him and thinks he's cool?
Yeah, citation needed.
Yeah, well,
Jamie and I do not look at him and think he's cool. I assure you.
He has some fanboys. I think they're definitely in the minority.
Incels, a whole bunch of incels. Who else likes him?
Yeah, no, that's it. But like it's ideology, right? Because that is the model of progress that we have all been sold as Americans growing up in school, like the thing that makes progress is these captains of industry, right? It wasn't the workers who worked for Henry Ford, it was Henry Ford. He made the cars happen, and people, so like it's not that surprising that people would view progress that way and that they would have this like great man theory of history when that's all they've ever been taught. That said, Elon Musk is a particularly charisma-less example of this so-called great man. I mean, at least the ruling class of the past had some style. So I don't know.
Yeah, he's ridiculous to me. He's ridiculous. He honestly, I don't know any women that like him. I don't know a single woman that likes him.
Absolutely
unless you work for the Mossad and you're trying to entrap him and you get pregnant. I'm just saying.
Whatever. He is one of the most unappealing people I can think of.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever had sex. Like, I'm pretty sure all of his children were created via IVF.
I wouldn't be surprised if a bunch of them were.
And
I
read that he engineered them all to be boys, and that's why he's so mad that his daughter is trans.
Are you suggesting something, Jamie? Just a thought.
Oh.
I always think of it as I always
curse
think
of the micro penis.
Well, yeah. Well, I think I see it as a lot of times men that, they grow up, they're emasculated in a lot of ways. They're not strong. They're not attractive. They don't make it on the football team. They don't get laid when they're, in their teens or early 20s. And then eventually when they get power, they're able to exert as much from that power. And a lot of it is based on, sociopathic levels of revenge, where it's like, oh, I'm going to show you now what I'm all about. And it's this anger at the world that I think a lot of them exude. And
pipe down, Francis.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm not saying I'm going to do something like that, but I'm saying that I think that there are people out there that do revel in this idea of making other people suffer. Because it's like, because I suffered, now you're going to suffer too, and you're going to know what it feels like. As childish as that may seem.
You think he was he was bullied? He was bullied.
Yeah, I think some of them certainly were.
Yeah.
I have here's the thing. It's impossible to tell. Like, I could see him having been bullied. Absolutely. I could see him having been a bully, just like he is now.
Yeah.
But as someone who was also bullied quite badly as a child, you can take one of two lessons from that. You can let that give you empathy for other people and let it inform your personal growth as you become an adult, or you can just decide to be an evil piece of shit. And I think we know what side of it he's on.
Yeah.
Well, we have watched our system crumble into a level of deterioration where now you're wondering when it's going to completely collapse. Because I think we've reached the point, I think you were working for Sam at the time, but we were advocates for force the vote. And at the time, I thought, well, something's got to give here. We have to make a push somehow for single payer healthcare, because through the efforts in the electoral process, it's not going anywhere. We're not going to get anywhere. And that was obvious even then. And so you fast forward to what I guess now is when Mangione was December. When you come up to what we witnessed a few months ago, it should not, anyone who's in the know and has been paying attention should not have been surprised that this happened. The only surprise is that it took that long. And now you're seeing a lot of people sharpening their knives, polishing their guns, thinking, yeah, they are going to double and triple down on us not getting anything. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on sort of the evolution of the Mangione story, the efforts that you have made to try to help him ensure that he has the right to a fair trial. It does seem like a lot of crazy things are going on right now, but to me, Mangione in a lot of ways is, as cliche as it may be to say, but he's kind of like the Dark Knight. He is a symbol. He's a symbol of what we're fighting for. We're the only developed nation on earth that doesn't have universal health care. And most people are now in the know, recognizing that, yeah, this is bullshit. And we should.
I like his form of economics. But yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested to hear more of his economic theory.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that we really know what his economic theory is
No.
at this point in time.
I
And
just call it this.
his tweets were really all over the map, and painted a picture of some kind of like center right tech bro who dabbles in all kinds of like not fringe ideas necessarily, but some more progressive than others, let's say. Yeah, I think it's important to note that Luigi Mangione is innocent until proven guilty. But
Absolutely.
we do know that somebody shot Brian Thompson, and that gesture, that singular gesture, has revealed this roiling ocean of class rage bubbling just below the surface of American society, and defying this left-right culture war that our politics are usually oriented around. I mean, we have had donations and comments from people claiming to be Republicans, people claiming to be cops. I know anecdotally there are right-wing people who I know or who are friends of friends who support this act, or at the very least are not sad that it happened. So yeah, it's been really amazing to see the way this has reoriented the discourse from this sort of left-right culture war that usually exists in the American discourse to sort of up-down class war. And we're just hoping that we can use this opportunity to, widen that rupture as much as we can, to give a voice to the voiceless on the topic of healthcare, which, as you said, was not even an issue in the last election. The great injustice, or one of the great injustices of our time, was barely even talked about. And it's not because people don't care. It's not because people aren't angry. So yeah, we're trying to see how far we can take this. And certainly something needs to change regarding healthcare, or this kind of thing is going to keep on happening, right? As long as the institutional avenues to change it are absolutely blocked.
Yeah, I mean, they've been precluding that. The same people that want to shut down all protests are the same people. Like, it's all the same people. So you have no other means of we don't have actual real protest anymore. Our voices mean nothing. Less than 1%, it's like 0% of what we want is actual policy. So we've already been shut down at all the other ways. And I think what's so upsetting to people about Luigi's story, and I have been saying this for so long, as long as we've been having this show, that it is going to get infinitely more and more violent before anything changes in this country. You cannot be the #1 exporter of violence around the world, not expect it at home. All we do is make weapons. All we do is might makes right mentality. So yes, and I think that what happened with Luigi is that is sort of like the first sort of shot that is, okay, now we're taking this to the next level because electoral means don't work, protesting doesn't work. So now it's this. And while the healthcare issue is my #1 issue, this could apply to a lot of things. Okay, this sort of Mangione economics is what we've been forced to, and I've said it a bazillion times. The level of violence in a society is dictated by the oppressor, period. So this is what they've decided is necessary to have things be done. If it were up to me, we would have been finished our second term of Bernie Sanders and things would look a little bit differently. But this is where we are now. And unfortunately, this is where it's going to keep going. That's what I think. I think this was just the tip off of what we're going to be seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I thought it would have made sense, honestly, for the system to allow for a Bernie-style politician to succeed when he was running for president the first time, as a form of self-correction, really a way of once again saving capitalism from itself. But I think for better or for worse, this system no longer has the ability to self-correct in that way.
Yeah.
How can you when you have open insider trading in full view of everybody? When you have actual X accounts that follow Pelosi's trading, that follow Wasserman Schultz's trading. This is how empires fall. You would expect to see behavior like this in, dare I say, countries like Ukraine. But unfortunately, it has befallen upon our benevolent, exceptional nation, as everyone wants to believe. And I do think that that's probably one of the hardest things for people that have succeeded, especially within this economic system, to ever look inward at just how broken it really is. You know, that's why they have to convince themselves that, oh, it's just you don't work hard enough, you're not smart enough, you didn't sacrifice the way that I did. And I'm thinking, I've had to sacrifice a lot. I lived in the Bronx for 2 years. I grinded my ass off to even get a slice of whatever the hell you would call the American dream. And I would be the first to tell people, you don't want to go through the hell that I went through. You don't want it. Okay? I may be cut differently than other people, but I wouldn't wish that on somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Not everybody is capable of doing what the other person is capable of doing. Some people are gifted artists. Think about that. You know, when I think about the worst aspect of the Trump administration, particularly his first term, was how much they denigrated art and music, and just that the creative mind was considered a non-starter.
That's always the first thing to go. They always go after the artists and the musicians first. So I'm sorry.
You know, it's crazy because I remember there was one interview with Donald Trump where the interviewer asked him what the most popular thing in the world is. And he thought for a second and he said music.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? That's a pretty good answer.
It is a good answer. But that's the best way that you can. I mean, that's one of the first things that gets censored always. I mean, it's always musicians, artists, and comedians get like, yeah.
But here's the thing. But here's the thing. He's not dumb. People think he's dumb. He's exceptionally shrewd. He's exceptionally street smart. He's just a total fucking businessman through and through. Everything is transactional. Yeah. There is no emotion involved whatsoever. Every despicable tweet that he puts out about Gaza is all about the business relationship that he has with Miriam Adelson and any other Zion Nazi that's out there that is trying to line his pockets, his family's pockets. They all do it. They just hate him. They hate what he represents because he doesn't protect empire. That's always been the greatest indictment of what Trump represents, because let's not forget, you know, even he floated the idea when he first got in there, well, can we just give everybody Medicare? And it's like, nah, that's not how this works. But eventually something's going to give, because how many ways can you screw over the working class in this country before they say enough is enough? They don't even dangle the carrot of, well, maybe we should give them a public option and that'll shut them up for a decade. They don't even do that. They can't even contemplate that maybe we've gone too far. And then you get tweets like this doozy from a person who I don't even know, but I think they write for Axios, if I remember correctly. Yay, Luigi is actually one of the things where I draw a personal line. I find it horrifying when people cheer on cold-blooded murder under some vague theory that it shows how serious a problem is. I basically stopped using Reddit over this. Well, cry me a river, Viper.
Oh, no.
This is, yeah.
You stopped using Reddit.
I disagree with that completely, but you know why. Right.
Well, nobody's cheering on cold-blooded murder. What they are cheering on is the fact
that's self-defense. That's defense of others. I honestly, until people start recognizing austerity and denial of care as violence, we're going to keep circling. We are having violence committed on all of us every single day. So when you say something is cold-blooded, that means it's unprovoked. This is not unprovoked. This was defense of others, actually. So I just see it very differently, because I see that we suffer violence by denial of care. So.
And even though I don't subscribe to communism, what I would ask people that look at commies and they have all these wonderful, you know, intelligent things to say about them, what I would say to them is this: do you even stop to think that maybe the system that we have is so fucking bad that maybe there's a reason people are looking at communism as an alternative, and they don't take 5 seconds to think like that?
Did it occur to you that the communists already kind of liked that way to be before the capitalists even existed? Did it occur to you that some of us just don't like capitalism because we just don't?
Well, the easiest way to explain communism, even though I don't subscribe to it, is that we used to all be communists. Before there was any form of modern technology, you had communities that had to commune together to survive. There was no other way to do it. And people want to claim that they could all live on the frontier like Wyatt Earp and, you know, get along and be fine. That's not how it worked. works. The communities had to commune together.
Yes.
To cook, I mean, again, the Native
Just give me my uniform and assign me to a friggin' cottage. I'm on my little happy
Jamie,
way.
I just solved the Native American crisis in the United States. That's why they hated the Native Americans, because they were commies. They all knew how to commute together, and then they were like, no, we can't have that anymore.
Yet that's how they drew. That's where a huge chunk of our democracy and our ideas of government came from, was from the indigenous peoples. But anyway.
Forgive me for making light of it, but at the end of the day, that's the problem.
Stop mocking the communists, Peter.
I'm not mocking them.
Okay.
Just
saying.
For the record, I'm not the kind of communist that wants everyone to wear a uniform.
No. I just want a uniform. I don't.
You can have one if you want.
Anybody do anything. I am all for. You want to spend your mental energy picking out cool shit to wear? All the power to you. I have my own self-imposed uniform, but I am one of those people that is just not. I would be like defending your life. Where they're wearing the tunics. They're all wearing the white tunic. That would be great to me as long as it's remotely flattering. So no, I don't want to make anyone else do it.
That's good.
Yeah, yes, I would be happy with one.
There are communists out there who think that I'm an anarchist. There are anarchists out there who think that I'm a communist.
Well, so here's the thing. I now classify as an anarcho-socialist, but what is that? I mean, I don't think people understand what things mean is part of the problem.
Yeah, that's true. I think part of why I identify more as a communist than an anarchist is partly as a provocation to the communist history that most people know the best, which is to say state communism or state socialism, right? Because none of these countries ever claimed that they had achieved communism.
Exactly. It's authoritarianism. It isn't actual communism.
So, yeah, I'm not willing to just throw out the history and the achievements of countries like the Soviet Union and China. But at the same time, the vision that I have for the future is a stateless, classless one.
Thank you. Do you I dream of small, sustainable communities where we don't need cars and we have fresh eggs and we don't have to go for that. You know what I mean? So I'm a degrowth person, which
same.
Yeah. So when you get into that mindset, it really does allow. Those things are very intersectional to me. When you start talking about really living in a communal way, which I do think would be in our best interest, that has to coincide, I believe, with degrowth. And you know what I mean? It's kind of, but that's what I want. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I think a lot of the time when I describe the world that I want to see and the world that we need to create, in fact, if we want to survive as a species, as long as I don't call it communism, a lot of people are on board with it.
Yes.
So maybe we can stop putting labels on everything and just say, you know what, we need a society of collective care where everyone takes care of each other and nobody has unjust power, and where corporations aren't allowed to destroy the ecosystem for future generations. And everyone has what they need, and maybe go from there.
Yeah. I also believe that all essential things, so anything that should be our universal basic services, healthcare, education, corrections, those things, they need to either be completely just, taken off the profit table, or be socialized so that everybody in it is us, so that whatever it makes is, you know what I'm saying? But it can't not be for profit. And that's the thing. Right now, everything is for profit. They can't even give anything up.
Well, they also can't distinguish the difference between capitalism and the free market. They think it's one and the same, that there cannot be a free market unless it's capitalism, which is, of course, that's ignorance and arrogance all rolled into one. But I will say, Jen has done a very good job. Us being, well, I was, but Jen is in South Florida. And look, Luke Rudkowski, Clint Russell, Ian Crossland, they invited her down. They had a nice conversation. They understood where she was coming from. But you explained it pretty well, even though they believe in this concept that everybody is capable of living off the reservation. Everybody is capable of living within an austerity type economic system. but they also understood your position, which I think is one of the harder realities of the world that we live in today, where we're not having the conversations we need to have with people, that it gets outside of the electoral political conversation. I think once that becomes sort of a hallmark, it'll be a lot easier to convince people that a lot of these ideas make a hell of a lot of sense. The second you bring the red-blue divide into the equation, that's when so much of the dividing lines, I think, become almost impenetrable. People just, they get very tribal and they stick to what they know. And that's the way it ultimately leads to a road to nowhere. But I do think a lot of people are starting to recognize that the two-party system is a failure. And I think that that is a great place to be, especially because populism is still very strong. I don't think.
I just want to ask, where do you live?
I live in New York.
Oh, are you in the city?
I live in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. But that's the city.
Well, then my condolences to you living amongst all of the the libs of Nomadland. So it's got to be.
I just think I like you. You're my kind of people. Like I think I would enjoy hanging out with you. And it's I would, because most people don't even, when I say degrowth, they look at me like they have no idea what I'm even talking about, and it makes me sad.
What
the hell you are? You want to use nuclear energy and you're not anti-capitalist. What are you talking about?
I don't want to use fossil fuels. Doesn't that count for something?
Go away.
Jamie, am I allowed? I have not yet. That you're fake outrage. Don't look at me. I don't have any of that. No,
I think I need to get to know you a little better before I can put you in a pigeonhole.
But he does support nuclear energy, and he does consider himself, he's okay with capitalism.
I am okay with the free market. I believe
he absolutely would never even consider open borders.
Not
also,
at all.
Exactly.
No.
So again, these are these are the issues wherein Jamie and I would be able to coalesce. Right? Like we've crossed over to that now. And you're just not there.
No, what are you afraid of?
Exactly.
I think that I do think there's something to be said for, and again, nationalism is not the right word, but there is something to be said for protecting your people. And the problem that we have as a nation, and the reason why having closed borders does not ring true for everyone, is because on the one hand, while I may be have a much harder line when it comes to immigration than you guys would have, I have the exact same policies that you would have when it comes to foreign policy. What we have done to the rest of the world, and no one looks around asking themselves, why does everybody want to come to the United States? That is a question that people, again, want to pretend like it isn't happening.
Can I say that, let her explain to you, because I'm going to let her take this because this is low-hanging fruit. Jamie, can you explain to Peter how borders don't keep us safe? Can you explain that, maybe a more abolition perspective as to how we are no safer and it is nationalism and not security? Maybe. I'm just throwing that out there to you.
Yeah. I mean, I think you generally need to follow the money with these things. And the same time that particularly the American-Mexico border security was beefed up and militarized was around the signing of NAFTA, because they knew that in order to economically exploit Mexico, they needed to create a harder barrier for Mexican immigrants trying to come into the country. But they ultimately did want some people to be able to cross the border. They just wanted them to be scared and powerless when they got here, so they would be easier to exploit. So I think it often goes back to financial interests. I mean, we already have open borders for capital and the ruling class.
Israelis can come free flowing, man. They're taking over down here. Why don't we keep them out?
Hey, did somebody say NAFTA? I heard NAFTA get mentioned. I just wanted to come in and say it was me.
No, exactly. What Bill Clinton? Exactly.
Yeah, it was him.
It's a very good impression.
Yeah.
But also, I think as climate change worsens and causes a wave of climate change refugees from the hotter parts of the world where people can't live anymore to the slightly cooler environments, if we don't let people in, it's going to become more and more just genocidal and exterminationist, right? And I think that is something that the far right, including the Trump administration, is trying to prepare us for, and the Democrats are too, to be perfectly honest. So these are things we need to have in mind. But also, I think the things that you might think of as quote unquote communism or anarchism, I think it's a mistake to think of it as just sort of an ideological political program that people like me are trying to impose on the world.
Exactly.
Which would continue to exist in the form that it does if it weren't for people like us. No, like the world is collapsing around us. Capitalism is on fire. The world is on fire. We can see that things aren't going to be able to continue the way they are. And things that might seem like communism or anarchism to us now might just wind up being the measures that we take to keep ourselves alive and each other, take care of each other.
Yeah. Something I found recently, and I didn't know this number, it doesn't surprise me at all, but something like more than 40% of our nation's borders were drawn by Britain and France. And so all of these borders that we think are like somehow create nationalities, they don't. In a lot of cases, they don't. They're just these man-made borders that are literally designed for capital and to control resources and allow white people to control as much land as possible by breaking it down into little serfdom states that they can control easier. That's why we have borders. We don't have borders because it's naturally organic and people are protecting their own people. That's not why we have borders. So that's the problem. Like if we had little tribes and people protected their little areas so that nobody invaded them, I kind of can get that. All right, whatever. That's not what we have. We have England and France, white people made borders around the entire world that keeps everybody fenced in. And it makes no sense anymore. It's just hateful. That's what I think.
Well, if you keep it simple, if we had universal health care and if we had a living wage, most of these problems would go away. It's not that complicated. The things that we seek and the things that we need we're not even asking for that much. It's actually pretty easy to have a relatively decent life. There's really not that much to it. But our system is it's reached the point of no return, 100%. Like there is no salvaging whatever the hell this is, because what it is it's anarchy. We are there. You can't look at people.
No, we would like us to be there. Some of us would prefer us to be there. We're not there. We're in a fascist, authoritarian, basically oligarchy. But yeah.
Could you imagine being a millennial or a Gen Zer and staring at this fucking thing all day long, trying to figure out which meme coin they should put their money into now to see if maybe they could hit 777s on the slot machine? Because that's what this is. This is the end of the empire. This is why I look at this stuff and I think I could see the trends. I'm not even in stock trading. I think it's the worst form of capitalism that exists. Wall Street is the hell that we have created for the world in so many ways. And yet there are so many of them that not only want to do this, they want to do it in the worst way possible. At least most of the people, especially during the 80s when this thing really came to be a huge part of our everyday lives, is that people would invest in things that they felt had meaning, whether it was Apple, whether it was IBM, whether it was Zenith, so many different things that I could use as reference points that actually make sense. Japanese electronics companies, Nintendo, Famicom, things like that. Today, what the fuck are you investing in? A coin that doesn't even exist? You can't even touch it. It's not real. You just make it up. Oh yeah, this is worth it. What? What are you proving? You're proving that much like the bullshit with the Haktua girl. And it's like, who do you really want to blame? You want to blame this 15-minute fly-by-night person for making her money or trying to make her money? Or are you going to blame the moron that tried to give her $20,000 because of a meme coin because they thought they were going to make money and they lost it like that? At that point, you really have to look at it and say, this can't be normal, because it isn't.
No.
At what point do we all just finally say, all right, enough?
That's Mangione economics. That's what I'm saying.
So as we wind down the conversation, we would love to hear your thoughts about what you think the evolution of the Mangione story is going to be. And if you could also tie it in, because I believe you're Jewish as well.
Mm-hmm.
what do you think is ultimately going to come of what's happening on the foreign policy side? Because on the domestic side, to us, Mangione is the story, because that's our symbol, that's our movement. On the foreign
You're giving her
policy,
too much to answer. Just have her answer about Mangione and where this is going.
That's a big question. Yeah, well, interestingly enough, we did get a donation from somebody who says they live in Gaza, which was fucking crazy to me, that someone in Gaza could have the time and the energy to care about what happens to Luigi and to care about healthcare in this country. I mean, it's just a testament to the character of the people who live there. But as far as the Luigi story, I can't claim to predict the future. We're living in crazy, crazy times, but he's really grateful for all the support he has around the country and around the world. And legal experts, like mainstream legal experts, are saying that there's a real risk of jury nullification in this case because he has so much sympathy from the public. This is, do you know what jury nullification is?
yes,
I can explain it. So,
No. Well, I'm an attorney. We've talked about it on the show. I actually said from the day that this happened, they're never going to find a jury to convict him. It's never going to happen. You're not going to find 12 people that don't have issues with health insurance. It's just not going to happen. So that's just, I've said that since the beginning, but
yeah. So that's one of the ways that a positive result could happen. I mean, the prosecution has also made a number of unforced errors. I think the terrorism charge was a mistake on their part because, they made the trial political. They opened the door with that charge to talk about the healthcare system and all the reasons why Brian Thompson was guilty of sin.
they want the death penalty. That's why.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what
They
happens.
can't get it in state. They can't get it in state. They're going to have to get it on a federal charge. That's why they're doing that. But they're overreaching and they're absurd. They're not going, I don't think they'll get a conviction.
Let's put that out into the world. I don't think so either.
I do.
He's gonna walk free, and that will be a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Agree 1,000%. How we get to single payer healthcare, I think, is the next big question.
How can people help with what you're doing for Luigi?
They could certainly keep on donating to the fundraiser, which is around, I believe, $650,000 right now, with the average donor being, I think, less than the average donor for Bernie Sanders.
If that's the case, then make sure you donate your $27 to this good kid. He means well. It's not the method I would have used, but we need single payer health care as the law of the land in America.
We'll make sure links are everywhere for people to do that. But I think it's really important. And if anything else, it's a show of solidarity. And that is something that the Palestinians are especially good at, is showing solidarity.
Yeah, for sure. And as for things you can do beyond that, I mean, people have been supporting Luigi by sending him mail, sending him photos, sending him just like happy, warm, fuzzy things. Obviously, you don't want to send anything that might get filtered by the censors in the prison. And then beyond that, stay tuned for more as this campaign develops and there are more offshoots from it. I think we got to do something to try to get the ball rolling again on the universal health care in this country, because it's so bad. Everyone has a story about it, and many of the people donating to the fundraiser have lost loved ones, parents, grandparents, even children, because their claims were denied by these absolutely evil health insurance companies to enrich the profits of shareholders. So I think people really want to see change. We don't really know what that's going to look like yet, but people should do what makes sense to them.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Again, those things to me are violence. So, and if I had nothing to lose, and that's the thing, I still have, I have kids. I'm not in a position where I have nothing to lose, but you know, if something happened to my kids and I had nothing to lose, oh, I honestly and that's the thing. I hear these stories, and my insurance stories are just in aggravation and overcharge, stuff that I'm fortunate enough to be able to deal with. But that's the best you're going to get from people in this country, are people that are just aggravated by insurance. That's the best end of the spectrum. And so, yeah, I think everyone relates to this, and it's infuriating. And so when people stand up and punch up, I appreciate it. I appreciate punching up. That's one of the reasons I do this show.
Well, that's all we should be doing is
encouraging anger in the correct direction. Yes.
Yeah. The real threats to American life do not come by migrant caravan, as we know.
Exactly.
They arrive by private jet and limousine. These are the people who are destroying the country, and these are the people who are destroying the world. And anything that reminds people of that fact is good.
These are the people that are destroying the world. And it's tales of emasculated men vying to destroy the world. So this is their sole purpose. But yes, these are the bad guys. These are the bad people.
Yeah, and don't forget that, like I said, you can only fool all of the people some of the time. You can't.
I think it's wearing.
It's like the whole thing with Epstein. It's all these other stories, and everyone's got their hopes up. And I'm telling you, there's a significant amount of the working class that is ready to say fuck it all. We're getting to that point. Like, it's getting there, and eventually things are going to get really fucking ugly. That's what's going to happen, because they're not going to give it up, guys. Like, if you're not ready for a fight. Trust me, there's a reason why the prospect of more Mangiones, allegedly, could be popping up all over the place. Because if you think that one CEO biting the bullet is going to break the only for-profit mega health system in the entire world that makes people hundreds of billions of dollars every single year, no, it's not going to happen that easy. But we're in this fight. You are definitely in this fight. We can't thank you enough for doing for Luigi and for the cause, because there are a lot of people, as you know, especially in this space, that just like to talk. There's not a lot that actually want to take action. You are taking action, and we can't thank you enough for that. And we certainly hope that we'll have the chance to speak with you again going forward.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. This has been fun.
It's nice to meet you.
Have a great evening.
You too.
So she's lovely.
Well, I figured you'd say that. That's your tagline.
She's lovely.
And Jamie is, again, she's the real deal. And that's what we want. We want people that actually believe in what they're saying. They're not just doing it for clout. And unfortunately, we got a lot of people out there that do that. And it's unfortunate that it's had to come to this, but at some point you have to pull off the mask. Like, you can't keep pretending, they got like the shit online about like Mouskowitz and Sheila and people. Oh, aren't you going to run for Congress against that? What the fuck is that going to do? Like, have you not learned anything?
That's when you know and we know who we're talking about, that there's certain people that they just really want that job. It's just about their career. They just want to be Politico, and they're so desperate to be.
Well, we didn't even get to talk to Jamie about Alex. It's like you get you go from where you were before you get in there. And then what people still don't understand is that it is such an intoxicating life. There is so much opportunity. There is so much ass kissing, which some people happen to like. And there's
who likes that?
For people to come up.
Getting their ass kissed. Well, yes, that.
The time you were running against, remember when you were running against Debbie, and I told you the fucking people that were coming up to her at the polling stations back in the summer of 20. Hello, Congressman. How are you, Congresswoman? It's like, they get off on that shit. They like people being like, oh, my goodness.
Well, that's because they think they think that there is like some sort of stature to it, or that it's merit based, or that somehow these people are actually leaders, when in fact there are insubordinate employees, and they somehow put them on a pedestal that I, for the life of me, cannot fathom. But anyway.
I remember when I told you about that one guy in particular who went up to her. He's such a, he was such a cuck. And I was like,
anyone who likes her is a cuck.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, how do you refer to Wasserman Schultz as a congresswoman? Well, first of all, she should be in fucking prison, but that's a whole other story. I think it's just people feel a certain way around people that have power. like for me, it doesn't mean anything. I'm around people that are of the really wealthy class and have real power, and you wouldn't know it because they don't have to flash it. They don't have to pretend like they're, that they're important. They know that they're important and they act accordingly. But a lot of these other people, there's this adjacency to it that they just feel, oh, I know this, but remember the time all the way back in 2016, I told you about the woman who came up and was like, I know Hillary Clinton. I've talked to her on the phone. For real. But yeah, they like that shit. They want to be like,
but that population, that demographic they're dinosaurs. They're dying off. Like there are very few people, the young people, like, yeah, maybe they're into Maxwell Frost. Maybe they still like Alex, whatever. But for the most part, young people are not registering as Dems, and young people are not in that party anymore. They're really going to die off. And so this is the problem. But you had intimated to me that we might have a kente cloth situation. Do we have a kente cloth story?
Oh, we definitely do.
So, guys, Peter has brought to my attention that we have a kente cloth story. So, where are you going next? Well,
I think if you want to get to the kente cloth tale, so the Democratic Party has proven time and again.
So, guys, in case you don't know, the kente cloth tales, which is an anthology of tone deafness, obviously was an original that was the story time I originated after the kneeling in the kente cloth, but God, it applies to so much more. So now it's a recurring theme, and we just refer to any sort of, like, again, tone deafness and just really not able to read the room is kente cloth tale. So what do you have for us?
So Al Green, as you know, did make his public statement heard the other night and got himself thrown out of the congressional chambers by the Sergeant at Arms. And he, of course, stated as such that the reason he did it was because that he does not want to see Medicaid cut, which is pretty easy to understand. It's a policy that is desperately needed by the desperate.
And yet someone in our chat said he does not support Medicare for all.
He could be right. He could be wrong. I'm not 100% sure. I know what he said.
Well, then again, it's more Mick resistance than anything, which we think anyway. But go on.
So instead of any of the Democrats supporting his cause and walking out with him, which of course they didn't, this is what they decided to do today when it turned out that Al Green was going to be censured by his own party in assistance with the GOP.
By its adoption of House Resolution 189, the House has resolved that Representative Al Green be censured, that Representative Al Green forthwith present himself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure, and that Representative Al Green be censured with public reading of this resolution by the Speaker.
The performative.
The House has come to order. The House has come to order.
Okay.
Even he's trying not to laugh.
It's ridiculous. Wow. If they broke out into like a really good rendition of like went into a whole, maybe like a whole
The House has come to order. Clear the well, please. Clear the well. The House has to continue its business.
I would appreciate that a lot more.
What business, Mr. Johnson? What business are you conducting? How to fuck over the American people a little harder today.
Also, Mike, if your people haven't told you, standing next to J.D. Vance is not a good look for you.
No, definitely not.
That is, let me tell you, of all the worst people that he could, like, because he's short to begin with, and J.D. Vance is kind of tall. So, I mean, it just looked so pitiful to me. Like, he could have, like, leaned over and rested his elbow on Mike Johnson's head.
So while the Democrats distract you with their performative bullshit, this is what the biggest scum sucker in all of politics.
And it wasn't even a good performance. That's my point.
No, but this is the problem. Tony needs Medicaid, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too. However, Mr. Voldemort himself had a thing or two to say about that.
Okay, this piece of shit.
They're thinking of the way that Ron is saying that, you can't cut. And that's all great. Then you're not worried about any program you care about, because Medicare's going bankrupt, Social Security's going bankrupt.
Yeah, because people like you steal from them. That's why. Oh my God, I cannot stand him.
Once again, this comes back to the same problem.
What if I do this really hard? Does it make it even more loud?
Well, you're waving fake outrage at him, but that's real outrage.
No, it is. But in this position where I'm sitting here, where there's nothing I can really do, it's sort of like this is the best I can do in this moment.
Well, the problem with what Rick Scott is saying is that once again, when they say that Social Security is going bankrupt and Medicare is going bankrupt and Medicaid's going bankrupt, they still won't tell you the simple truth about how our economic system works.
I'd like to give them a choice. Especially to someone like Rick Scott, who's like the richest person in Congress. I would like to give him a choice of two MMTs, right? You will either accept modern monetary theory or you're going to deal with Mangione monetary theory. And those are your two options at this point, pal.
Well, unfortunately, as much as I hate to say this, but it's the truth, the side that desperately needs help is only capable of protesting because they are not armed. But if the side that is of the working class that will protest and is armed,
exactly,
that's when things are going to change.
You start taking away people's Medicaid, you start taking away that shit, all those right-wing populists, they'll come for you.
And they will. And they already hate Rick Scott to begin with. Like, this is not like a new thing.
Who doesn't hate Rick? I honestly, and now, and for people,
I know. I know
who likes him.
I'm not going to say their name.
Okay,
but
I
know
have
people
lived
that
in
like
Florida.
him.
I'm from here. That man was our governor for 2 terms, termed out. Now he's our senator. Okay. I do not know anyone. I have not met anyone who likes him. I've met people that like DeSantis. I've met people that like Rubio. I have met people that like a lot of people that I don't like. I do not know anyone who likes this piece of shit. Republican or Democrat.
Inflation can't go away. Interest rates can't come down. So my belief is it's all going to, we're going to have to do this. It's good. Are we going to do it this year? Or are we going to do it next year? And if we don't do it,
yeah, well, it depends. Which of the MMTs do you prefer, Rick? Nobody's untouchable. That's what I know.
And here's what I do believe. I do believe that they are not going to touch Medicaid until after the midterms. I think they're going to show.
They know it'll be a death blow.
Yeah, they can't do that. But do I think that it's possible that they'll cut it in a presidential election year, knowing how far ahead the Republicans are on the Democrats? Yes, I do think that they will. In 2027, absolutely.
Well, and if they're watching the same stuff we're watching, right? So we don't really know what they think because they don't always say what they think. But I believe that they know that the Democrats are no longer a permanent threat to them in any way. I think they know that we've seen our last Democratic president, and I think that they are now ready to just do whatever the hell that they want. But the thing is, they were doing that anyway. The trajectory that we're on has been since Reagan. It really has. So it hasn't mattered whether it was W, whether it was Clinton, whether it was any of these people, Obama. It's been the same. The trajectory of capital is the same. It doesn't matter who's in that office.
Correct. But I can assure you, as badly as this is to realize, and I know that we have talked about just how tone deaf, out of step, and out of touch so many people in liberal politics truly are, where they think the party's going, where they think things are going to ultimately end up, I can assure you that nobody whispers better to the tone deaf, elitist liberal class than Bill Maher.
A political party finds a real star president. The other side always says, well, we have to find our Bill Clinton, our Reagan, our Obama. Well, the Democrats need to find their Trump, not the authoritarian part, but the part where a politician bonds with everyday Americans because
you mean like Bernie, you stupid fuck?
And the good news for Democrats is they have that guy, and his name is John Fetterman.
Oh, he said that. Oh, my God. Please, Bill, please keep promoting that. Because wait until Fetterman switches over and is no longer a Democrat. Please keep pushing Fetterman. Because he's the type of guy that'll run he could probably win as an independent by anybody else that would vote for Democrats. What do they care whether he's a Democrat or not?
I mean, he's already been extremely favorable to Trump since he's gotten back into office. So naturally, they would think that this is exactly what the American people need. But this is where, despite what you and Jamie may think of me, I am smart enough to recognize that this is all about protecting capital. Nothing more, nothing less. There is no one that will be promoted, especially as the empire is cratering. There is no promotion of social democratic policy. Not a chance. But as history has shown, it will always collapse. Always. We have this idea in our head that the red, white, and blue will ring true forever, that it can't possibly fall, that it will always find a way. But it's not going to find a way if we stay on this path. And if Bill Maher thinks that promoting John Fetterman is the answer, oh, Jen, you have no idea how much worse this can get. And it does.
After the election, instead of curling up in a ball, Fetterman went to Mar-a-Lago, where Trump assumed he was one of the guys from January 6th. And afterwards, Trump said he's not liberal or conservative. He's just a common sense person, which is beautiful. And that's the kind of gay adjacent respect Trump usually reserves for Putin.
Do they
He's
still
not even funny anymore.
It's not, and not only that, but do they not understand that this continues to push people away from their party?
They don't care. They don't see it. They're not, because the truth is they don't have a party anymore. They're just, again, those of us who remember New Coke, there was no point. We didn't need it. We liked Coke, right? So the Democrats are basically New Coke to Republicans. There's no point to them. They don't do anything. They don't serve any other group. So what would be the point of them?
I like what Harashnu has to say. That's a very telling and accurate
he's a
statement.
wanker. And I don't vape. Jen only smokes, only flower.
The real thing.
Yeah.
Just the fact that Rahm Emanuel is one of his panelists tells you how little he and anyone else thinks of working people. And talk about an absolute bigot of the highest order. I mean, the thing
again, you know that his dad was a member of the Irgun. The Irgun was like the most special ops violent unit of the IDF back during the Nakba that did the most violent, vile things. His dad was in that. Just saying.
Trump and Fetterman actually have a lot in common. They're both plain-spoken anti-elitists who come from money, married exotic immigrant ladies, went to Ivy League schools, and aren't afraid to take on their own party. Look, here's the thing. Voters aren't really savvy about the issues, but they do have made it clear what is important to them. Authenticity, balls, and charisma. Trump has that package, and so does Fetterman. He's only been a senator 2 years, and he's already more famous than most of his colleagues. Quick, I dare you to name this sad-looking lady from Washington State who's been in the Senate for 30 years.
I'll tell you who Patty is, if any of you care.
I don't particularly care who she is. She looks about as boring as possible. So no, I'm not interested. Well, he makes a good point, but he then thinks that he's so stupid because he thinks that awareness translates to votes when in fact that's not how that works anymore. Well,
here's the problem. You see, Patty is the senior member of the U.S. Senate from the state of Washington. And when Bernie Sanders defeated Hillary Clinton by almost enough votes to have won every single delegate in the state of Washington, Patty still gave her super delegate vote
to Hillary
Clinton.
Of course she did.
So she can get fucked too, just like the rest of them.
Well, he's just pulling her up as a rando.
Teach charisma or balls. Fetterman is that rare Democrat who's not afraid to put the woke nonsense peddlers in his own party in their place, saying things like, wanting a secure border and realizing that it was out of control, that doesn't mean you're a xenophobe or a racist. He's been unequivocally pro-Israel, as are most Americans. And when
Are they?
No,
Are
they're
they?
not. No, they're not, Bill.
Are they, Bill? Talk about a fucking echo chamber.
Tone deaf, man. We should bring.
pro-Palestinian protesters showed up at his home, he went up on the roof and waved an Israeli flag.
That doesn't get him votes.
Did somebody throw up the? You have to imagine that somebody had to throw up the applause sign the second he made that statement. Woo! Woo! Really?
I mean, well, I think it's, yeah, I agree. I'm actually thinking that stupid stuff might be onto something at this point. Because
Fetterman says the 4 words that strike fear in the heart of every Republican who wants to hang on to power. I am not woke. That's why Trump won. Not because Americans were clamoring for tariffs on margarita mix.
God, you fucking moron. He's such a moron.
That's the reason he won?
Well, that's what the Democratic, that's what the liberals are all saying. It's the woke shit is why Trump won. No, it isn't.
How about the hundreds of thousands, if not bordering on millions of Muslim voters that refused to vote for Kamala Harris in Michigan, in Georgia, and Pennsylvania?
Exactly.
The only 3 states Trump needed to win the election, and he won them all. And then he decided to grab another 4 swing states just to rub it in their fucking face.
But sure, let's bring back somebody just like that again to run in 28.
Oh, and you know that they will, but it's
well,
not.
Who are they looking at? Whitmer, Shapiro.
Oh no,
Newsom?
wait, it's not over yet. There's a little bit more.
Okay.
Going where the American people are on crime and immigration, gosh, it's so crazy it just might work. See, that's how you get these things called votes. Trump has the whole malignant narcissism thing that makes it difficult for him to distinguish between reality and whoever's kissing his ass. And Fetterman has had a stroke and been hospitalized for depression and needs a special speak and say device to communicate. He's legally a disabled person, which is actually great news for the Democratic ticket because, okay, look, I don't just have the top of the next Democratic
because they're running a hospice.
I'm also going to throw in the best bottom the Democrats have, Pete Buttigieg.
Did he, wait. Did he just call him the best bottom?
You bet your ass he did.
Wow.
It's pretty.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, what bothers me so much about that is not that because I'm overwoke, but because there are 1,000,001 things to dislike and criticize about Pete Buttigieg.
Being gay is not one of them.
Not right. Like, in fact, that's the only thing that on paper to me would make him look potentially okay, but everything else, like but the fact that he said that, I actually think that, and I have no shit to give about Pete Buttigieg. That's rude. That was just real, like, and stupidly so.
But that's Bill Maher.
Whatever.
Do we expect anything less?
It's, you know what? It's low hanging fruit. It's lazy, Bill. It's lazy.
Remember Mayor Pete? He used to be everyone's favorite boy genius from Indiana. Well, he's all grown up now. And he, too, seems to be trying to send a message that he wants to join the reality wing of the Democratic Party. A month ago, he stopped posting his pronouns.
Because he knows that shit isn't going to fly, but that's not what his problem is going to be in Michigan. He's going to have a lot of problems in Michigan. This is the same guy that was essentially okay with toddlers and babies not getting formula because, well, we live in a capitalist society. And so there's just that. And he was okay with that. That kind of mentality isn't going to sell well in places like Flint and Kalamazoo. Just saying.
Not at all.
Like, I cannot say, let him go into those types of areas where it's people that are environmentally, like, have been tossed aside. Let him go into those places and see how he's received.
Well, the way he's going to be received is not going to be positive because, as you and I have been talking about at length, and I truly believe this, I think that the Democratic Party brand, that probably more than anything else, is what's dead.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's when I say, and I've clarified this, when I say we won't see another Democratic president, I do mean this incarnation of the DNC, this corporate captured Hillary Clinton run, Manchurian candidates like Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, all of that. Those people, that party will never win another presidency. Now, could there be some other incarnation in the future after this revolution? I don't know. Maybe we have a Democratic Workers' Party or something. And so they're technically, that's the Democrat. I don't know. But this Democratic Party is donezo's. It's done. It's trickling. Like there's still states like California where that's the menu for people for, the time being. But on a national, they're done.
If you do like our content, and we certainly hope that you do, for as little as $5 a month, you can become a supporter of our small but mighty channel. Get yourself over to patreon.com/generational change in order to do so. We have had some wonderful supporters chip in tonight, as always, which we're extremely appreciative for. Victoria, the Democratic Party needs a Luigi as a leader. Well, good luck with that one, as much as we would like to see that type of leader. But right now, we are not seeing it. But you can't give up hope completely. Tony D, thank you for the 14 months of support. Fetterman would lose worse than Kamala Harris. So you might be right. I mean, that's certainly possible.
Let's put up Sable's comment. I want to say something. Sable says she disagrees that voters go back and forth. Normally, yes. But traditionally, there's been almost, if not more, Democrats than Republicans. We're seeing such a change in the registration that the numbers just aren't there. I agree. Traditionally, it sort of would go every couple years back and forth. But because the demographics have changed and because of all the political stuff that has pushed people like the Muslim community out and now increasingly Black men, like they're losing demographics so hugely, bigly, that I don't think I think that the days of going back and forth are done, which at some point that happens, like the wigs go away. Like at some point a party sees its last president. It does happen.
Yeah.
And that's where we are. So yeah.
And again, we are at the precipice of a real shift because we thought we were getting that shift in 2016 and we did get it, but we got it in the direction of Trump because led by Wasserman Schultz, the Democrats sabotaged Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was going to win in 2016. There is no question whatsoever that if he was given the proper opportunity to win, especially after the Michigan primary, he was going to be the president. No question about it. And you could blame him, and he does deserve blame. There's no question. And his decision-making has been exceptionally questionable, to say the least. But to deny who he was during that 18-month run, it was special.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really appreciate the $2, Mark. And that's what we're here for. We're here to, well, I know you say that we don't want to transform politics.
I'm here for red pills and revolution.
Red pills and revolution.
If you want your red pill and you want to be part of the revolution, red pills and revolution.
Sean, thank you for the $2. You two are doing great work. Cheers. We really appreciate that. And we cannot say that we disagree necessarily with that flag being upside down.
No.
Where do we conclude? Well, we have said time and again that we wanted Bernie to be the fighter that we needed him to be, but that he chose not to be. So when he makes commentary like this, yeah, it's correct, but it's not necessary to hear it anymore because what is he prepared to do? Nothing.
No, he's corralling people back into the party. That's what his job has always been, which is why I get to where it's the Mick resistance, where I don't know that he ever intended to get as far as he did. And I don't know that he ever would have been what we thought. And I'm still thankful for what he did because it got us to where we are. But I don't think that he was ever really going to take it further than the party would allow.
Well, this is what Bernie had to say. You had Alyssa Slotkin make her dumbass statement in response to Trump's State of the Union. This is what Bernie had to say.
Trump has been very effective in creating what I would call a parallel universe for his supporters. A set of ideas that either have no basis in reality or in the great scheme of things are nowhere near the most important concerns of the American people. And one way that he does that is through the concept of the big lie, and boy, did we hear that tonight. You say something that is grossly false, say it over and over again, and have right-wing social media blast it out endless times until people actually believe it. It is beyond crazy that someone like Elon Musk can contribute over $270 million to help get Trump elected, and then he gets to run the government. It is absurd that any member of Congress who stands up to Netanyahu's brutal war in Gaza can expect to be opposed by millions of dollars in campaign contributions coming from AIPAC.
One thing I have to say, and this is one of the sad parts of watching Bernie, because he too is not long for this world either.
No, he looks, it's not good. Like the teeth, the whole thing, it's not good.
I don't know if it's his dentures.
It's something is awry.
So the way he's speaking is indicative of, I mean, look, the guy
and
is...
he's 83, 80, what is he? He's like 83?
He was born in 41, so he'll be 84.
Okay, so yeah, he's old.
I know he wants to fight until the bitter end, and I get it, Bernie, but you were never willing to fight the way that you needed to fight. That's the problem.
I think the thing is that Bernie's way of fighting has been the way he's always done it, and it really doesn't account for where we are now in this world, right? So like what he would have done and what he did in the 60s and who he is and what he did as mayor and all of those things, that paradigm stopped existing a long time ago. So those methods and how he's trying to do this within the electoral system, it's clear that doesn't work anymore. So that's the problem. And he hasn't adapted to that.
We'll hear a little bit more.
The American people want us to end this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision and move to the public funding of elections. And he almost completely ignored the issues that are keeping working people up at night. President Trump, healthcare is a human right. I didn't hear one word from you, not one word. Over 90-minute speech, not one word from you about the healthcare crisis that is impacting many, many millions of our people.
You didn't say a single fucking word to Joe Biden either when he was in power.
And that's the problem with all of this theater. Where was this energy, 2 years ago when you were going to make sure Joe was going to do what you said he was going to do? Like, it's just too little too late at this point.
And that's not to say, and we don't need to watch anymore. That's not to say that what Bernie is saying is incorrect. He is right.
Of course.
He's not going to challenge what needs to be challenged, and that's the Democratic Party.
This is him.
That is why. And we've been saying for the longest time that the populist left movement was the only thing that was going to save the Democrats, and it would have forced the Republicans to move to the center. They would have had no choice because it's too appealing. You take the woke shit out of the equation and you focus on single payer, living wage, tuition-free trade schools and public college, ending endless war, clean drinking water, and advancing our technological capacities when it comes to things like transportation. High-speed rail, anybody? Bernie Sanders would have been the president of the United States in 2016 if we lived in a just system. We don't.
But instead of grasping that at that time and not just not running as an independent, which that would have, we've said it a million times, that was the only moment where we had that option. That was it. That was his moment. So instead of just, we would have preferred that, but no, instead of just not doing that, he still is now, even after all of that, herding people back into the party that did that to him and has been doing that since then. So it's bad enough that he didn't take the opportunity to run as an independent, but the fact that he's still like getting people, like bringing them into that, like somehow they have some sort of righteousness about them. That's what's really embarrassing about him. Like, I feel embarrassed for him almost that that's what he's doing now.
I do. And that's the difference between Bernie and Trump. As much as it pains anybody to have to say it or to see it, Trump was willing to go where Bernie was not willing to go. Trump was willing to fight for what he wanted. He was willing to fight for the presidency, even if it meant blowing up the whole system. And they blinked. He said, I dare you to fuck with me. I totally dare you to do it. They didn't. And Trump knew to call their bluff. Bernie wouldn't even try. What did you get out of it, Bernie? You got Wasserman Schultz to step down as the DNC chair. What do you have to show for it? You got
but the fact that the whole system fucked him over and he's still playing in their sandbox, right? Like, that's the sign. You know, if he is still playing with them after that, then he clearly isn't really interested in doing anything about what he's saying he wants to do.
And if that speech, those couple of minutes that we showed you, is any indication, this is his swan song. This will be his last term in Congress. And it's a shame.
And it should be, because he's...
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm surprised that Jane hasn't reprimanded him for not retiring. That, you know, how many more years left do they have together with the grandkids, etc. You know, and now, as Jay Boggs says, Bernie's now kind of ancient. And that is a damn fucking shame.
And there is no one to take that from him in the Democratic Party, because they're not there. That doesn't exist in that party. That's gone.
Colin,
so now if you want left populism, it will only exist outside of the Democratic Party, period.
Colin, do me a favor and pull up that clip of the Democratic fighters from earlier. Please pull that up one more time.
Oh, no, I can't again. Why?
I have to for a second.
Oh, my God. Who are we having to hone in on? Not Alex.
Oh, absolutely.
Toe box queen. Let's read what they say. Freeze it.
AOC, New York's 14th congressional district, youngest woman and Latina to be elected to the House. She's a Trekkie, Jen. Did you know that?
No.
I wonder if she likes Kirk or Picard. Who do you think she prefers? No, maybe she's a Spock person. Although I could be
honestly,
wrong.
the fact that I'm just this whole thing is just so bothersome to me.
This is your king, or queen, as the saying goes. This is what we've reduced ourselves to.
It's so pathetic because what this really shows, and really we've been saying this the whole time, like for I don't know how long. The Democrats truly believe that their problem is marketing, reach, branding, messaging. They truly believe that's their problem. That they're just not putting out the right messaging. They got to reach the young people. We got to get in there with the young people. So this is the most pathetic attempt. This is up there with like that Gavin Newsom having his new podcast. We're going to just be cash and we're going to talk. Like, they are so pathetic. Or that bit that was released that said they need to get to gun shows. They are out of ideas because they don't want to deal with policy. So now all they can do is try to rebrand and remarket their same shit. Newsflash, Alex, you cannot put enough lipstick on that pig.
You know, if Alex was smart, she would actually jump into the New York City's mayor's race right now.
I don't think so at all. But
I think she could actually win it. Like the New York,
that's horrifying. And you would end up with like a Karen Bass situation in New York. Good luck with that.
That is the problem with giving any modicum of power to somebody like Alex. If she wants to completely blow her political career, turn her into the mayor of New York City. Watch how fast her whole career.
I don't think she'd survive that campaign. And for a lot of reasons. First of all, and again, I've said this and I'm not saying it meanly. I don't think she's that bright. So when you take that into account, and I don't know what her executive experience is, but being a legislator, being in the legislative branch does not equate to being an executive. They're completely different. I know we don't teach that as well as we should, but they're very different functions. So even if somebody is a stellar, amazing legislator representative, that doesn't necessarily mean that they would be great as a chief executive. Okay. This is someone who is a completely ineffective legislator. And so why in the world would that translate to being an effective executive? Like, where do you see 1 + 1 = 2 there? I don't see it at all. Now, the fact that she might do it or someone would convince her to do it because the WCCC can make a fortune on that campaign and it would be like a spectacle of spectacles. I would be hopeful for the people of New York that she would lose if she were not the best executive potential candidate. And I find it hard to believe that she would be. And we just, to me, Karen Bass, case in point, you might be a decent legislator. That doesn't mean you know how to be a chief executive.
David, you're going to have to provide some clarity or clarification on that, because if she really did say that, then that's obviously it's not.
I would have thought we would have heard that. I would think we would have heard that, but it wouldn't surprise me if she put that out somewhere.
No, and of course, right now it's like the safest time to say it.
I don't think she would be able to. I don't think she would be able to withstand an actual real campaign. Let's be real.
Sure.
Let's go back to look at how Alex won in 2018. You and I know what goes into that and what she did and what she was up against. She was up against somebody who just basically took it for granted, didn't show up. She didn't really have to. I mean, she knocked doors. She did a lot of canvassing.
She had the wind at her back. They put all of her resources into her campaign.
Exactly. She had
100%.
all these things in her favor. And so it wasn't really like she wasn't having to be called out on stuff. She wasn't getting crap from the opposition. She wasn't getting crap. Like, it was a completely different vibe. Her running. Can you picture her running against Cuomo, what that would look like? She's not ready to play with those boys.
Here's what I would say. And this is one of the great sins of some of why the left ultimately fails at politics. And I'm not trying to put you on a pedestal, but your race against Wasserman Schultz, especially in 20, was an example of the type of race where it was potentially gettable if you had the right amount of capital behind you. And because of that, because there are so many people that run for office that have no business doing it, that tie up all of these resources, which are very limited to begin with. And then you have these organizations that are always trying to expand because they're always looking at the bottom line. That is why you fail. You got Alex in, then you got Corey and Jamal in. And then you should have had enough sense to say, now we're going to get 2 more people in there. Now we're going to get 25 more people in there. We're going to put $1.5 million, $2 million behind 2 different candidates. That's what
I mean, look, we know, like, looking back, brand new Congress, I think, realized too, and Zayn has even said it, they definitely spread themselves too thin, and that's not the way to go. You're better off obviously focusing on some really winnable seats. But again, that's not something that's going to work really within this party. It's just not going to work within this party. I mean, I just don't see it. And, if Alex were really to get into that race, I think it wouldn't end well for her. I think that is a fight that is uglier than anything she probably has ever seen in her little political life. And I that's not a race for the faint at heart.
But the only reason I bring that race up, and the only reason why it could potentially make sense, is because for every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there that really wants to see her run for president in the near future, let me assure you, no congressperson in the modern history of America has ever come close to sniffing the presidency.
Exactly.
Winning it. It Never. Is overwhelmingly governors.
Yep.
It is sometimes senators. And then in very rare instances, you have the true independent who may go from one team to the other.
Well, you've got Trump, who is a true
independent, who's in the Republican Party. You had General Eisenhower, who was a true independent, who was recruited by both parties, keep in mind, to be the presidential nominee. Both the Democrats and the Republicans wanted him.
Why don't people understand how this works? Like, you don't just go from being a representative to being president. Like, the hubris is what really, and again, I don't know that Alex has this ambition at all. We've heard everybody else and their mother speculate about it, but I haven't heard her herself say anything. So I can't comment on her level of delusion. I don't know.
I understand that, but I'm saying that if she has any intention of running for president, the only shot she would have to have the type of gravitas where she could actually justify a run at the presidency, win the New York mayoral race first.
And that's not going to, and that can't happen.
I doubt that's going to happen.
I don't think she could win. I don't think she could win a Senate seat, because I don't think she could win a statewide race in New York. So you're, again, to go from a congressional seat to executive seat is ridiculous in and of itself. Okay. Well, whether at that level, but then to put it at a national, when you can't even win a state seat, like, this is so cart before the horse.
Well, here's the thing. Do I think that she could raise $3 million if she ran for mayor? Yeah, I think she could.
Oh, and the WCCC will be all the thankful for it.
I don't know if they, well, no, I don't know about that, but here's what I will say. She has an opportunity for a couple of reasons. The first one is the fact that you have a completely and utterly disgraced incumbent mayor who is not dropping out. He is going to continue to run. You have a former disgraced, corrupt governor who's now running for mayor. And you don't have any true progressive with any real gravitas that is running. If she got in that race, and both Cuomo and Adams are in that race, she'd have a shot.
And I think that when it got really tough, I don't think she understands.
But here's the thing.
Jen, is just,
Jen, here's the thing. On top of everything else, she's not a risk taker. She's not willing. Everyone thinks that she's willing to take a risk.
How?
I've said before, the reason why she would run for president is because she doesn't have to give up her congressional seat. Now, I don't know if she has to give up her congressional seat to run for mayor, but I think she does. So she's not going to do that.
Then she would never do that. But again, even if she didn't, it's just silly to me. It's silly to me. And I just think like that, the mayoral race in some regards to me, especially in places like New York, they don't play nice.
Oh,
like
God.
you're into like some Hoffa-esque kind of shit in that world. And I just don't think that that's something she's game for. And I also, again, have never seen anything that indicates that she's qualified to be the chief executive of New York, let alone, the United States. Like, sure. I don't see where that comes from.
Well, as we've often said.
That's like, like some of people we know's level of delusion in terms of what they think they're capable of.
Sure. But then again, that's why politics is becoming kind of a secondary component to what we're talking about. Politics is a tool. It can be used effectively. By the way, and I will, I'm not going to talk about it now. I'll talk about it off the air. But the thing is, we look around for leaders, not just because people need upper management, but because most people feel like nomads right now. And they're not going to gravitate to somebody like Trump as a leader. But at the same time, people feel lost. And it's understandable why they feel lost. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of hope before we go.
You have hope?
Colin, pull up the Trump tweet, please.
We have hope?
Yeah, slight. Not much, but enough to suggest that if you just look around at what other people are doing, you'll understand why. And the Donald is here to explain. After speaking with President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico, I have agreed that Mexico will not be required to pay tariffs on anything that falls under the USMCA agreement. This agreement is until April 2nd. I did this as an accommodation and out of respect for President Sheinbaum. Our relationship has been a very good one, and we are working hard together on the border, both in terms of stopping illegal aliens from entering the United
I
States.
hate that phrase.
Excuse me, I'm talking. And likewise,
like that to me.
Excuse me, and likewise, stopping fentanyl. Thank you, President Scheinbaum, for your hard work and cooperation.
Jen stands correct. What did I tell you? I told you about how he was going to deal with her.
She's a badass. And
he is so out of his element in dealing with her. And the thing is, he has no win because, first of all, she's incredibly bright and very well spoken and knows how to communicate. I was watching her. She really explains things to her people.
Oh,
she was explaining them. She had chart, like she herself was actually with charts explaining stuff to her people. He's never going to go at her in a bad way. He won't do it. First of all, he probably likes her. He probably likes her.
Listen, she's pretty. She's intelligent. He's totally
not going to mess with her. There's no way he's going to mess with her.
No, he's.
You're out of your element, Donnie.
No, he really is out of his element.
Oh, with her? Oh, for sure. The minute that she won and I knew he was going to win, I'm like, oh, this will be really interesting because he is not going to be able to manhandle her.
And keep in mind, guys, look at how a democratic socialist, and that is what Scheinbaum is, look at how she deals with Trump, and look at the neoliberal corporatist that is north of the border and how he deals with Trump.
I don't know that we could exchange that, but here's the thing, Canada, get in line.
Get in line.
Get in line. We're between you and her. All right. If anybody's going to get her, it's us.
Yeah.
We were her country before we drew our random line. You're out of your element.
If you looked at how Trudeau decided to go at Trump versus Scheinbaum, Scheinbaum goes at Trump with respect, and Trump appreciates that. And that's why, as you know,
she knows. If there's anything that women know, smart women, she knows exactly how to get what she needs and wants from him. And that is something that no one will do it as well as a woman will do that to someone like Trump who loves his ego stroked. If anybody's going to know how to get what they want, it's going to be good to watch. She'll have him eating out of her hand. Continue.
Thank you, Sable, for the $5. I guess the boycott for retail was a bust last Friday. Sales actually went up at major retailers I saw. Okay, so
I purposefully didn't buy anything on Friday. Like I actually did make like a note to not buy anything on Friday, but I wasn't sure how effective any of that would be.
Well, you guys also have to remember just how small we really are. We are small. The changes we seek are not going to happen right now, but this is why the coalition has to continue to be built. That's what we're doing. I don't know what else the other fucking channels are doing. Clearly not what we're doing.
Some people do what we do.
Some do, but not.
Speaking of which, we need to coalesce said people for a meeting.
Okay.
That's what we're going to do. Yeah.
Just remember, Donald, the ads play. They help
us. Yeah, it helps us.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you don't like it. You're not really missing anything that you can't go back and look at. And as smart as we might think we are, we're not breaking any of Newton's laws here. Okay, you'll catch up. It's not complicated.
Guys, we also want to plead with you for if you have been on the fence or were considering joining our Patreon, we would really appreciate if you gave it consideration. I have a extremely busy schedule, but I still manage to do what I do. Jen and I have talked about potentially hiring one more person to join our team, which would help with scheduling and promoting and things that take time and effort.
Basically things that things that you do that you could take off your plate. I think we could, and it isn't going to be social media. That's not happening. And you own that. You took that over. Now that's your friggin' cross to bear. You own it. No one else is doing it.
Yep. Well, I can take care of that.
That's why I'm stuck with you. Like, that's why, guys, if you ever want to know, like, why? No, it's because Peter has been running my social media since the beginning, basically. And so if Peter and I broke up, like if our business broke up, I would never have social media. I would cease to exist. And that's the thing. So I'm beholden to him.
I guess we're stuck. The good news is that we actually did pass 20,200 subscribers. which is nice.
I wish we
Hey,
got a plaque. You know what? I'm going to make my own plaque for 20,000 because we don't get one until we get to 100,000. And at this rate, I'm not making it.
No,
So I'm not making it that far.
No, you'll have to start doing nature videos from, Tennessee and Georgia.
Well, and that's an interesting thing you bring up because I am in the process of planning a month-long expedition from basically the end of August to the end of September and doing my Lake Michigan through Minnesota thing. So it would be, I'm going. I'm seeing the friggin' moose. But so if I do that, it would be kind of like, Jen on the road. Where's Jen? Because it'll be every few days, somewhere different. You never know.
Helps. It definitely makes a difference for sure. And we'll make the shorts and we'll do everything that we got to do.
Oh, you think it helps? Like it's a good thing for me to be, where am I? We could do like a mystery, and I won't tell people my schedule up front so people don't really know where it is. But now I've got my camper and I know how to use it. It's part of my degrowth strategy is downsizing to somewhat portable life. That's my degrowth plan.
We appreciate the sentiment, Sable. We will continue to try. Hope you all enjoyed Jamie. I think she did enjoy being a guest, and obviously we've got many more guests.
I'm sweet on her. She was adorable.
Yeah, and I do think that our good old friend Nina Turner will be coming back sometime soon as well. We are going to be having a handful of guests coming up. It looks like our friends from the Eisenhower Media Network, we are going to have a military panel on Monday.
Are we going to focus on Ukraine?
Ukraine and Israel. We're going to focus on.
Okay. Well, because I really think, and this is the thing, a lot of people really miss the boat on Ukraine. And the reason I had said, about asking Medea, and I know she's really busy, is just it's her book that I always recommend is the Ukraine primer is Medea's book. But yeah, I did. I saw that you have Dennis and Karen coming on. That's awesome.
So that will be Monday night. On Thursday next week, Jen has been wanting to have on a lady by the name of Sarah Glass. She will be our following guest. On St. Patty's Day,
guys, remember the name of the book is Kissing Girls on Shabbat. We're going to talk about it, but I mean, there's a lot of sort of bigger life lessons in it. It is not necessarily going to be a very heavily political interview. That's just not what it's about. It's just she's really interesting, and I just found her story very moving. And so I just think it's important, and I think there's important lessons for us to get from it. So that's why we're doing it.
And then on Thursday, March 20th, we will have the return of Matt Taibbi, who
the return. You make it sound like it's a movie. The return.
Well, we can thank Matt Taibbi, and we can thank Debbie Wasserman Schultz for the most viral clip our channel ever had, 120 or 125,000 views. That was due to her trying to cut him down in front of the House Select Committee because, Debbie just loves playing it up for the cameras.
That was so funny.
And Taibbi was perfect when he said, you're still in Congress?
That's what he was so surprised that she was still around. But no, the look on his face and the glances between him and Michael Schallenberger when she was talking to them. And I could tell I don't know how he kept a straight face, but I'm just fascinated that they sat there. I would have stood up and walked out.
On that note,
people know that if I'm ever anywhere where I'm not forced there under penalty of law and I'm not subpoenaed to be somewhere and someone's talking nasty to me, I'm leaving. I'm not going to sit there.
I got to tell you, David, as crazy as people may think that this may seem, even at this point, I will say this. Would it shock me if Newsom was the Democratic Party nominee, even in lieu of where they're going right now? No, actually, that would be extremely on brand for them.
Yeah.
We have said that a very likely ticket in 2028 is Newsom Whitmer. That is a very possible ticket.
And again, her with the crazy eyes. Lady friends, woman friends.
Oh, that would be, you know why that would also be a perfect ticket? Because that would be a ticket where the two of them would likely end up having an affair together.
Oh,
and that would be like the greatest scandal, the greatest scandal ever. And it'd be the funniest scandal.
Seriously, lady friends, tell me that I'm wrong, that women are not we really can recognize the crazy eyes in other women. We can. Craziness, crazy. And I am telling you that that Gretchen Whitmer, she got the crazy eyes.
Yeah, she does.
She's the crazy eyes.
And the Democratic Party is about.
No, AOC does not have the crazy eyes.
She has googly eyes, but she doesn't have crazy eyes.
No. Look, pull up pictures of Gretchen Whitmer and look. She's got the crazy eyes. I'm telling you, she's got the no more wire hangers.
You want to know? You want to know a man in Congress that has the crazy eyes? Adam Schiff has the crazy eyes. Rick Scott has the crazy eyes.
Rick Scott has crazy eyes.
Like
yeah.
Some guys you can look into their eyes and you're like, oh, there's like a demon in there. You know
Brian Mast.
Yes.
There's yeah. But
and finally
is
And finally, I unfortunately have had the displeasure of looking into her eyes.
Yes, Michelle Bachmann does have the crazy.
Michelle did have crazy. She's not there anymore. I unfortunately have had the displeasure of looking into her eyes, and I can assure you that Debbie Wasserman Schultz has the crazy eyes. So
she's got lizard eyes. Her eyes, if you guys ever pull up a picture of Debbie and do a real close up, her eyes are very serpentine. It's really weird. They're very they're very lizard like.
You know, honestly, the only other person I have seen that has similar eyes to Debbie was Peter Thiel. Like he looks like a lizard person who's trying to break out of his human skin. So it is what it is. Elise Stefanik is just a complete and utter despicable opportunist. But
she's a cunt. She's a cunt.
Yeah, she's a nasty fuck. Like you could just tell.
Just a cunt. Like there are certain women, like, come on, just call it like you see it. She's a cunt. And Marjorie Taylor Greene does not have the crazy eyes. She doesn't have the crazy eyes. Michelle Bachmann has the crazy eyes.
And the scary part about, yes, Yalabite, thank you for the $1.99. Anna Paulina Luna definitely has crazy eyes as well. I'll give you that one.
Who? I'm not familiar with whoever.
But Anna Paulina Luna, I guarantee you is going to turn out to probably end up being a Mossad agent. Wouldn't shock me in the least. It takes a certain type.
Travers.
Yeah, it takes a certain type. God damn it.
Oh my God.
It takes a certain level of narcissism and even sociopathy to try to get this type of power. It's beyond anything that you can generally comprehend. Some people handle it better than others. Some people, like even Jimmy Petronas, are decent enough. But then you get people like Randy Fine, and you think, how do disgusting people like this make it to that level? Well, unfortunately, those type of inhumane, disgusting people are often the ones that end up going for it and getting it because they have no moral compass.
That, and this is something we should address. So Humorous says, Rick Scott is a piece of garbage. He sucked as governor. I don't even understand how he became a senator. I truly do not understand that. Florida's filled with stupid people. Multiple things can be true. One, Florida is filled with stupid people, but so are a lot of places. Two, Rick Scott is a disgusting human being. Three, he wins because he has a shit ton of money.
And four,
most people don't vote.
And four, if you want to be completely honest, Rick Scott is a phenomenal politician.
There's that. There's that. And he's a phenomenally good politician. He has a lot of money. And there is no Democrat resistance in this state. So he's the Republican with the most money. That's why he wins.
And I am telling you guys ahead of time right now, because I see where the political winds are moving. It will not surprise me in the least if John Morgan, yes, the John Morgan, runs for governor of the state of Florida, and he'll do it as an independent. So, and he will be viable.
Absolutely. He could win. That could absolutely happen. And I'm not entirely sure that that's horrible. I don't know. That's someone who's in a chief executive position applying for a chief executive position. So again, I'm not a fan of John Morgan by any stretch, but yeah, that is not horrendous. And again, we have a very low bar in Florida. We had Rick Scott. We have Ron DeSantis. These are not, we it doesn't take a lot to be better.
Like I said, guys, we are kind of screaming into the ether until we have, if we had 1,000 people watching our live stream, we would have more of an active opportunity to push the needle where it needs to go. People are just either not informed because they choose not to be, or as Jen has often pointed out, people just don't have time. Just don't have time. This is time consuming. We are very diligent about only going twice a week. But listen, the more you keep donating, the longer we're going to have to talk to you guys. A lefty can win in Florida, just be pro-gun and lean libertarian. Listen, a libertarian left, that could win in Florida.
But as an independent, not as a Democrat.
Yeah, not as a Democrat. You cannot win statewide office as a Democrat for at least a generation. That's a done deal. Like,
I can answer this. I want to answer. I don't get why people are donating to Luigi. I mean, I get it, but what the fuck? And then there's something about, isn't he rich? Here's the thing. Luigi just defended all of us. What he did defends all of us. And what people are doing by donating is standing in solidarity with someone who really had balls to punch in the correct direction. It isn't about the money, although he will need a lot of it. But sure. I don't know his connection to his family. I don't know what access to funds he actually has. So we don't know that just because his family has money that he necessarily has defense money.
How do you know his family didn't cut him off? How do you know his family?
That's what I'm saying. We don't. That's what I'm saying. We don't know anything about his relationship with his family. But
his family,
that aside, it's symbolic of that. This is the person who basically is willing to like martyr himself for the cause that would help all of us. That's why people are donating to him.
And again,
free Luigi.
And it's just the start. Free Luigi. Smash that like button, share, subscribe, and free Palestine. Do all those things we ask you to do. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday.